Because you're from upstate New York?
I'm from Westchester, so right outside of New York City.
Okay, I was like, I don't really know.
Like the Evanston of New York.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
That's what you tell people?
Yeah,
do people understand that when you tell them that?
Yeah, they completely get it. It's like right in between Edgewater and Evanston.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, you're in town only briefly, right? You don't live here.
No, I do not. I live in Michigan.
Right.
Yeah, southwestern Michigan.
My little Michigan boy.
Yeah,
I love it.
Hour and a half from here.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
No, it's awesome.
And you had a wine dinner here?
Yeah, at Bar Paraset last night.
How was it?
Killer. Madeline just like destroyed the pairings. They were
really?
Yeah, they were insane.
Yeah, Madeline's the chef there, right?
Yep. Madeline's the chef.
It was 4 courses?
5 courses. But we had like little amuse-bouche to start, which was cool. So it was actually, I think, like probably 7 courses in total.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
so
awesome.
it was like a real...
Oh, I was full at the end. Yeah, it was like barely could finish the entree, but in like a good way. You know? Yeah, it was great.
Do you do a lot of those or?
No, because we don't make a lot of wine. So it's hard to like make dinners, but maybe like 1 or 2 a year, I'd say. Yeah, try and be like really intentional with who we partner with, for sure.
How do you make that decision? Like
cream normally, like the
your
reps.
distributor,
our distributors.
Yeah.
And they'll like pair with people that are like-minded, I guess you'd say, like focused on locality and like hyper-locality and seasonal ingredients, and that kind of works well with our wines.
So you trust them. You like them.
I love them. I worked for them, so I have to.
You did?
Yeah, I worked for Cream for like 2.5 years.
I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
It's funny. So, I mean, as a winemaker now and then working distribution before, do you think that's like, does that help you as a winemaker at all to like kind of see that, point in the wine industry or? I
think my palate was honed at Cream, if that makes sense. Like I had this insane, at the time they were still repping Rosenthal and Von Boden and all these different books, and I kind of just got to like hone in what I thought was fine wine and understood now what is fine wine.
Interesting.
So I had like a good comparative, I guess. I wasn't really like studying when I started with Cream or anything like that, or like in the education side. So I kind of just got thrown to the wolves. They threw me a bone. I should not have been hired at first. I was like the most greenhorn you could ever imagine.
Why do you think they hired you then?
I don't know. I'm a good interviewer. I don't know. I just like, I think they felt the passion, and like I asked them for a chance. I was like, I just really need this opportunity.
Yeah.
And they trusted me and kind of went from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that your first wine job?
I was an intern in Walla Walla prior to that. And before that, like a waiter and floor som.
Was that in New York or
it was in Rhode Island?
Okay.
Yeah, I went to college in Rhode Island where I met Sydney, my wife.
Got it.
But I was a waiter mainly in the wine world, but then my first wine job was an internship. Like
cool.
winemaking internship, yeah.
Got it. And where was that?
Walla Walla, Washington.
Yeah, where in Walla Walla?
Artifacts, the big custom crush. So if you know where like Gramercy Tavern is, not Gramercy, Cellars, and the Walls, it's right down the street from there.
Okay.
Yeah, they might have moved since then, but like we were making Canvasback, Andrew Wills, and a bunch of like side projects for people. I think they did like, I want to say probably like 100,000 cases of a custom crush, if not more, when I was there.
For the people who don't know at home, what is a custom crush versus like a regular winery?
Yeah, totally. So a custom crush is a big facility owned by a bunch of people, and they allow people to make wine in their space under their guide and their people. So like you're not actually making the wine, but you might give some orders to people and be like, do X, Y, Z, but they're completely in charge for the winemaking, the aging, and then they sell it back to the person, whoever it is, to sell the wine.
Is this a common thing in the United States? Do you see this in Europe in some capacity, or?
Yeah. Europe, co-ops, right?
Same thing? A little different?
A little different, yeah, like just a little different, where like in co-op spaces, the people actually are like investors in the space itself. So they're like sharing all the equipment and the ability to sell the wines as a cooperative, where custom crushes, everybody's for themselves. Yeah, it's different. But on the West Coast, it's huge. East of the Rockies, you don't see them.
Yeah.
Which is strange.
Why do you think that is?
Investment, I think, big time. And like there's not as much of a sense of communal gathering east of the Rockies in the wine world, which is changing. And I think New York will probably be a big place for a custom crush to start. And we also just don't have enough grapes. Like that's at the end of the day, there isn't enough vine material to, I think, sustain a massive custom crush operation. But a co-op I think could work around here. Like small starter brands, getting ready, and like launching from a single point, because it's not easy to do that.
No.
No.
I don't know. How much money does it take?
It can take a lot of money.
Yeah. Like $500,000, $100,000?
Man, to start as a custom crusher, to start as a winery east of the Rockies.
I think like, you know, a lot of what I do is from a consumer standpoint.
Sure.
And a lot of, I think so maybe people would think, I want to start a winery. How much does that take? Because you don't do a custom crush now,
No.
the Stranger Wine Co.
No, we do not.
So like, I'm not asking, you don't have to tell me how much you did.
Totally.
But like, if someone wanted to do something like you, where you make wine in Michigan, wonderful wine in Michigan,
Thanks.
and they wanted to do something similar.
Yeah, like $400,000 to $500,000.
People don't realize that, I don't think.
No. To buy a press used that's old is like a nice car.
It's just all this like farm equipment is expensive.
Yeah, a tractor's like $60,000. Yeah, and like we have it on loan, you know what I mean? Like you can't buy that outright, and there are ways to go around it, but like you either incur debt or you're a billionaire becoming a millionaire. Like that's it. There are like two ways to do it. And we were lucky, we bought an existing vineyard. So like that helps
Also
so
big.
much. Yeah.
It was an existing vineyard. So who was owning it before?
James Lester of Wincroft Wines.
I love that guy. I love that
Starting
guy.
to like weirdly become him with the hair. And
Dude,
like,
I love it. Yeah.
It's interesting. And he gave us a chance we bought Avonlea from him, his original estate that he planted in the late 80s. Which is pretty dope.
Was he just like, was it too far away from him now currently?
Yeah, exactly. So he lives like an hour north.
Yeah, and it was just too much of a pain in the butt to go back and forth
The
trying to
first
maintain
year
it.
we farmed it, Marie, we were driving an hour and a half round trip each way, or one way, so 3 hours round trip every day to farm the vineyard. And we were like, oh, we get it now. Let's move closer to the vineyard because it's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it was insane.
It's like an hour and a half commute for your 13-hour hard labor job.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
driving back.
Like who wants to go prune for 10 hours and then drive home? Like not
I would
a lot
think-
of people.
I don't know.
Like driving like this because your hands are cramping and like it's so bad. Yeah, we roughed it for sure.
I mean, are you enjoying it?
Loving it. Yeah, it's really cool. It's the most gratifying work I've ever done.
Wow.
Yeah, like 100%. I say that with like all sincerity. Like winemaking's cool and everything, but the farming aspect it's special. It's a privileged life. You know, you got to admit that. It's really cool to be able to farm.
It's cool that you separate the two things between winemaking and farming. I think people would associate that almost as the same thing.
Always.
Can you, I don't know, like, can you break that down of the joy of farming versus like the joy of winemaking?
Wow.
Like, what's the difference for you?
I think farming is the tending of everything and like seeing a growth cycle from like literally new life to death, because the vines don't die, but the leaves fall off and they become woody. And I feel like empowered through that because you're tending something that is alive and is breathing. It like respirates, you know what I mean? It has an immune system and it's trying to bring it to the best place it can be. Whereas like winemaking is just stewarding your farming at the end of the day. Like I think it's an overplayed, what's the word? Like we idolize winemakers in such a way, but all they're really doing is just taking some fruit and letting it ferment, but in their own way. And I find that like the joy in that can be lost quite quickly. Like halfway through a harvest, you're like, I don't want to do a pump over today. But then you start doing the pump overs and you start smelling the wines and you start understanding where it's coming from and you realize the farming season. Because like at the end of the winemaking season, you are seeing the fruits of your labors quite literally. And that's the coolest thing for me, but it always comes back to being in the vineyard. Always, no matter what. And I love my tractor.
You love your tractor?
I love my tractor. It's I love my tractor. Yeah, and I'm using my mentor's tractor right now too, a 30-year-old tractor. So it's just like, I don't know, there's a joy in that. So I always go back to the vineyards.
Is this something you saw yourself doing when you were younger, or yeah? What did you want to be when you were 5 years old?
5? I honestly don't remember.
Or like as a kid?
Probably a baseball player or like a
Cool.
sports guy, you know? Like I used to love that stuff. But no, if you told me I was a farmer when like 10-year-old me, oh, you're going to be a farmer when you're older. No way.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you make money? It's probably what I'd ask myself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. It's practical.
Yeah. Even in college, I never thought this was going to be what happened. Ever. no, I still pinch myself. Yeah.
I think you have an interesting position being a farmer and winemaker in Michigan.
Sure.
There's rule books in American winemaking for West Coast mainly, and then maybe now a little bit East Coast and maybe Texas. There's some rules for that.
Rules.
Or
must have Tempranillo.
Yeah, right. It's okay. Actually, I want to talk about that instead because I think that's so interesting. Like, who decides when you're kind of a pioneering wine region like Texas, where it's like, how long has Texas been making wine for like a general American market?
I don't know.
Since like the 40s, maybe?
I would say 40s, 50s.
The 50s, maybe?
At least planted grapes and making wine, right?
Yeah. So like you have every decision of like, we're just going to start growing things. Like, how do you decide what to grow? And Michigan is maybe in a similar position. I mean, Mr. Lester has been making wine in that region. And
Mr. Lester.
Mr. Lester.
That's awesome.
And it also just seemed like he made things that either had grown previously, because things just also naturally grow in regions. But he also made some decisions about like, I want to try this because I want to make a Bordeaux blend because I'm already growing Cab Franc. So like, why don't we just kind of go with that?
Sure.
What's the thought process like for you for what to grow and why? When you have no rules.
When you have no rules, right? We have an ABA, but the ABA doesn't have rules. It's not like an AOC, right? So what do I look towards? You always look towards the classics, like what grows in regions around the world that have similar climates. But that can get you in like a really deep hole pretty quickly, and you can get pigeonholed really fast, where it's like, oh, we think we're like this, so we must grow this. Now it's looking at soil. It's looking at micro climates of small vineyards where, yeah, you might have a south-facing hill, but you have no relative elevation, yada, 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 so XYZ won't work. Let's try something else out. More so it's looking at soil now than anything else, where it's like, oh, we know we can plant Riesling, right? That can survive the apocalypse. We know we can plant Cab Franc. It can survive the apocalypse. So those are good points to like look at and say, where genetically are those vines? Where are they planted? Where are they thriving? And just go from there, really.
Okay.
Yeah, but we have fun still. Like I want to plant Pulsard and Trousseau, and I feel like we're very Jura-esque with heavy clay soils and lots of granite. So I don't know, we can have fun, but at the end of the day, like Pinot Noir is what we're focusing on. It's Pinot.
Why does the soil matter so much? Does it really matter all that much? Or is
Yeah, it really does. Like it dictates decisions in the vineyard, right? If you have good soil, or if you have heavy soil like clay, you don't really need to irrigate. That's cool.
Okay.
Right? And like that cuts costs down. So you don't have to put a well in, and you don't have to run irrigation. Where on sand soils, you're probably going to have to irrigate because there is no water holding capacity, nutrient flow, and nutrient availability, organic matter availability. All of those things matter in like establishing a vineyard. And that's where we look towards in soil. Like, for the first 3 years, these vines survive well? Because if they're established, then they're going to grow. Yeah.
And I guess it also dictates farming when you talk about, heaviness or like ability to retain water.
Yes.
Yeah. You brought up irrigation and dry farming. Well, I'm implying dry farming with that.
Totally.
But like what other farming factors do you consider with like density of soils or type of soil?
Like the ability to move the soil. So like on our estate, come June, you cannot move the soil. It's hard clay on top, and you'll have trouble even bringing a tiller through it if you want to. And so you kind of get your yearly schedule based on how intense the soils can be. We have other vineyards that we farm that have sand top soils. You can work that all year. So weeds are better because weeds can't grow as much in sand. On the estate, the weeds can get like 4 or 5 feet tall if we don't manage them properly. So it can get intense, but the soil dictates the year. I think that's a good way to like think about it.
The soil dictates the year.
Yeah. Like if you have a heavy rain year, right, on clay, it's going to get really wet. You're going to have a lot more mildew pressure. Where on sand, you may have less of that mildew pressure because the soils aren't as wet. They're not retaining as much water, that kind of stuff.
I don't think about that stuff.
I don't think really anybody does.
Well, I mean, that's what your job, I mean, like that's the difference between like the consumer and the trade, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to think about these things. Like, should the consumer care about these things? And like, to what point?
You know, I don't know if the consumer really needs to care about what's happening with the soil on a weekly basis in a vineyard.
Yeah.
But I think the consumer should care about like preserving the topsoil and preserving soil and soil health and understanding. I always do the Whole Foods analogy. Like,
let's do it. What's the Whole Foods analogy?
We spend so much money on eating healthy, which is good, and organic and yummy, yummy, yummy. And then when it comes to something like wine that goes through more major organs than food itself, we could give a crap about what's actually in it from a chemical standpoint and how it's grown. So at the end of the day, we should be spending more money on better farming than as we do with food. And this is an agricultural product, and that's something that people don't realize. It's a food product, and so like let's focus on that. So that's where soil might matter for the consumer. It's
Got
like,
it.
what am I putting in my body actually? You know, like I think that's super important. But
Totally.
carrying, you know, nerdy stuff, yeah, we all love Kimmeridgian soil, like right, like that's the
We
big,
all do.
the big K.
Yeah. Not that big K.
Not that big K, no.
The other big K.
The other big K, the white K. No, I'm joking. But
Meridian is white though.
it is white, exactly.
Okay.
It's limestone. But yeah, you know, do you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. It's like it's so important to understand that side of it. But like, you can go as nerdy as you want. But is it important for the general consumer? Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something I always try to drive home to when I teach people about wine. It's like, it is, I say the word agricultural product a lot too.
Yeah.
And I think in the American food systems, we really take that for granted of what that
Yes.
means. Like how a box of Raisin Bran tastes the same every year. And it's like,
It's weird, isn't it?
it's weird because yes, wheat is a very durable, you know, crop.
Oh yeah.
But it's going to change based on where it's grown
Yes.
and the climate that year. And if it's
Yes.
constantly changing too, then like it might be smaller berries, which might affect the flavor. But it's like somehow the McDonald's French fries taste all the same. Somehow the Raisin Bran in the box all taste the same.
Yes.
And wine is the only product in which like we allow it to be what it is. And it's
Yes.
like seeing what the world is doing in a bottle, which I think is super cool.
Amen. Amen.
And you are truly the steward for that, of being like,
Yeah.
it can be interpreted many different ways. So it's like, how do you decide how it wants to be interpreted? Certainly the soil exists, but
Sure.
I also think winemaking decisions makes a giant impact on how that tastes as well.
100%. I mean, you could have like a really bad vintage, right? Lots of rot and just stuff happens. So you have to make certain decisions in the winery to like shepherd the product towards what you hope it can be and
Yeah.
know it can be.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, fermentation's going to take over, and you can only intervene. Well, you can intervene a lot, but I make the choice to not intervene as much, just to hopefully express the vintage.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But let's use Raisin Bran example.
Okay.
People who eat Raisin Bran might be pissed that their Raisin Bran is different this year, or
Yeah.
there's less raisins this year, or there's
Sure.
who knows.
Sure.
Maybe people wouldn't even notice. I don't know. But I think about wineries who make consistent products, you know, more industrial farming.
Yeah.
And more people gravitate towards that because I think more for pricing than necessarily taste and a brand. People rely, they see Kim Crawford, they go, I already know it.
It's reliable.
I already know what it's going to kind of taste like.
Yeah.
And it's $8 or it's $12 or whatever.
It's like $21 now.
Kim Crawford?
Is it? Or is I'm thinking Whitehaven? That's gotten really
It might be
expensive.
Whitehaven,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Why is that? I mean, because, I don't know, they're both shipped from the same place. I can't imagine it's like
I have no idea. Marketing, I think. Look
Yeah.
at Whispering Angel.
Whispering Angel. I've seen an episode of Below Deck. I mean,
That's awesome.
the marketing is pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good. But that's like the biggest marketing scam in wine. You know, they tried to make the most expensive rosé, see if they could sell it. And look at now, it's like $22.99 a bottle.
Yeah, even at like Costco.
Yeah,
It is-
exactly.
it is funny.
Yeah.
Have you tried the Bon Jovi Hampton water?
No, I want to.
I wish I had a bottle here.
I want to. I've heard it's pretty good.
Okay, well, you know, I'm looking for that sponsorship, by the way. Yeah,
Come on, Bon Jovi.
come on. What is his first name?
John.
John Bon Jovi. of
John Bon
course.
Jovi.
Okay.
Yeah. A resident of Red Bank, New Jersey still, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
sounds like you know, actually.
I lived in Atlantic Highlands, weirdly, for 2 years, which is like across the ocean, river. Oh, I'm going to sound so stupid now. The bay. You can see the skyline from Atlantic Highlands. Yeah,
Got it. I don't know enough about New Jersey.
That's okay. It's okay.
Is that okay?
It's a beautiful state, but to
sure.
get into it, it's rough.
I feel a little guilty. I mean, this podcast is called Fill Your Cup, and we haven't filled. I mean, I filled your cup of water, but I think we should open your wine.
Oh, yeah. I got a wine key.
Oh, of course you do.
I think.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I got to turn off the air conditioning anyway.
No worries.
So. And I edit all
Shout
this
out Drew Baker, Solstice wine key. Always handy, always on point.
Yes.
Oh, all alone.
Yes, this is filmed in humble beginnings. No studio podcast here. It's just in my home, and
Yeah.
it's a charming thing when
I love
the
it.
AC kicks on, right?
No, it's the beginning of a good thing. I didn't really fill your cup, but I like little tastes.
You know,
first,
I
so
think that's good.
Cheers.
I pulled out the nice glassware for you too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's nice. I've never had this glass vin.
Glass Vin.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
it was a housewarming gift.
Sweet.
Wow.
Pinot.
It's Pinot, baby.
It's Pinot, baby. Oh, yeah.
Pinot from America in
Pinot from
general.
America.
People, I don't know, would say that it's sometimes like, whenever I blind taste Pinots from America, I'm lucky to get it from a nicer place like Russian River Valley in
Sure.
California or the Willamette Valley in Oregon. I don't know. You are taking WSET diploma. Did you get your diploma already?
Yeah, I've got my diploma.
You're working on Master of Wine.
Master of Wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're smarty pants.
No. Lucky to get into the program.
So, well, that's nice of you to say. And it's true. Master of Wine is an incredible program.
Yeah.
If I were to continue my studies, I'm not really interested, but I would absolutely do Master of Wine.
Totally.
What drew you to Master of Wine?
It's the pinnacle.
More so than Master Sommelier?
I think so. This is such a hot take.
We love a hot
I
take.
love my court people, but the court is like service, or it focuses more on service and hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
And the MW is like the pinnacle of all the information you could pull out of a wine. And the blind tasting is so rigorous, and they'll just give you like 3 wines and say, this is made from the same predominant grape variety. Okay. And for all the wines, you have to talk about the winemaking from harvest to bottle and do it in 5 minutes.
And you don't know what the wines are. This is based on inference of what you think the wine is, and then you write about it,
And
correct?
the only thing you can do is use evidence from the glass, and that's it. It's like tannin XYZ points me to A, B, C, D, E. And if your argument's good enough, you could flip a wine and say, I thought Blaufränkisch was Pinotage, right? That's a good example. But I made a good enough argument where I think I got enough points, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's wild. But it's the pinnacle. to me.
I think that's a great example of I think people who start out or don't maybe know much about wine and they see blind tasting and they go, that's a party trick. That's just a guess. That doesn't really mean anything.
For
and
sure.
I think what you just said is the perfect example of you are expected to write an article, pretty much an article about wine, the similarities of winemaking based on purely smell. And it's that to me is just being able to smell and identify it. It's not just luck or chance.
No.
There are things happening on a chemical level that humans can detect.
Yes.
Which is cool.
It's
I love
freaking
that.
awesome. And it is a parlor trick. There is that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And to be a good blind taster, I think you have to admit that you're doing a bit of a kooky little thing. But if you have 5 Pinots in front of you, and this was on one of the exams, 5 Pinots from 5 different countries and 5 different subregions, you can get there if you just focus.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard though.
Yeah.
And no one's perfect.
Well, of course not.
It's
Except
tough.
for you.
No, I'm not at all. I'm very far from it.
I also like that they have the questions on the website.
Yes.
I think that's so nice.
Full transparency.
I think that's great.
Another thing that led me that way.
For sure.
Was just like, okay, you guys are being super honest.
Yeah.
And like, you're not trying to BS anybody. And like, they'll throw Matus in the blind tastings, or they'll throw Sutter Home White Zinfandel in.
I love that.
Because it's important.
Yes, because that's what most people drink in this country.
And as an MW, hopefully, one day, that is the distinguishing factor between MS and MW. I think if you put an MW next to an MS with 36 wines, and you put like a Sutter Home in there or something like that, I think it would throw the MSs off a little bit more. This is so, please don't hurt me. But I think it's the deductive reasoning is just a little bit stronger in the MW, and being from a math background with like the proofing and critical thinking, I was just attracted to it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not to totally slam dunk on the Master Somm program.
I couldn't pass the exam.
Well, and I agree with you that it's much better if you work in a restaurant.
Yes.
It's a lot of 1/3 of it is service based and knowing service points and being able to perform under service pressure.
Yes.
Where a master sommelier, there's a round table of them and they're asking you questions while you're pouring wine.
Getting anxiety thinking about it.
It's a different skill.
I couldn't do it. And the theory is so hard.
The theory, is it harder than Master of Wine? Because I imagine
different.
It's different. How is it different?
MS theory is like doing particle physics, where you have to know every minute detail of everything and interconnect it. And then the MW is like being a theorist and being able to like compile an argument together and be like, this is what I think. Where the MS is like, it is or it isn't, right? Like, what is the Grand Cru next to Clos Vougeot? That, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Stuff that I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's fair. I never really thought of it like that, but that's true. And I think I'm with you on that boat of Master of Wine, where it makes you see the big picture of wine, not from an entire industry, a global industry. And like, yes, restaurants play a part of that global industry.
Yes.
But like in a restaurant setting, you're probably not selling Sutter Home by the glass. So Master Somm programs are like, we don't need to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's like, you nailed it. That's it. No, but that's like, that's how I think about it. They don't need to, right? But they need to know the classics to an nth degree, because that's what the court is.
Yes, and when you serve wine in a 3 Michelin star restaurant and you have guests coming in who do know these differences of the different villages in Burgundy. Lord help me.
Lord help me.
Lord help me. Where the hell am I? Yeah, and then like they really know producer by producer, and it's like that. You sometimes get master sommeliers coming into Alinea or 11 Madison Park, or per se, wherever you are, and so that makes sense. But
yes,
I also like the connection to the industry as a whole, and working with consumers within. Like, I want to be able to appeal to the grocery store shopper as much as I would in a restaurant, and I think Master of Wine kind of just
that's where I'm at.
Does a better job.
Everybody should be included, no matter what. Even if you like drinking Sutter Home, good for you. You know, they make 1 million cases a year for a reason, right? But there's nothing wrong with that,
right?
And I find like it's just a little bit less of the gatekeeping in that sector.
Sure. Yeah. That's part of the appeal of some of these things too, is being exclusive. I think it's a good business model. I think it makes them money. I think it makes it. Being gatekeeping makes you a lot of money. Inclusion
by exclusion.
Yes.
You know?
Totally.
Like the VDP is like that in Germany. It's like, you want to be part of the cool kids club? Follow the rules.
Yeah. Follow the rules.
And then you'll get 100 points from suckling, and everything would be good.
Well, and then you probably make some money, you know? I don't know.
I bet you do.
I bet I don't know. It's just like any business. Why do you go into any business? Most people just say, I don't know, I want to make $1 million or whatever. Some people, I find that winemakers, especially like of your size, don't do it for the money. They do it because they love doing it. Yeah. And when that happens, then yes, you don't align yourself with people like the Master Sommelier program. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Who cares? Or VDP if you're in Germany.
Sure. I have a lot of friends that are in the court, and I love them, and I have great times with them, right? But
yeah, of course.
It's just, I don't know. It's a personal preference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're going through the diploma, you've learned these things about wine, you learn about like old world versus new world, right? And I think these are very good building blocks for people.
Yeah.
What do you think about when you make wine? Because you were in the new world, making wine as in not Europe.
Yeah.
But you make what I think is a very old world wine.
Cool. Good.
Good.
We're doing the right thing.
Good and cool. Why is
Good
that?
and cool.
Oh, good. Totally.
I like it.
Who is this character?
I don't know.
Who is this man?
I don't know.
Good and cool.
Good and cool. It is nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
For lunch, I have a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of wine.
Have a waffle, maybe cigarettes, some bar of chocolate. I love Nick Kroll so much.
That's us right now. It's 10 a.m. by the way.
We have water.
Water
and
true.
wine.
Yeah, mineral water.
Mineral
wine.
water. Wasser.
Yeah, Wasser. Or water from your parts of town. I guess.
water.
The water ice.
Yeah, we don't have that too bad in southwestern Michigan, but
no.
It's more like water.
Water. So it's for you. This was your intention. You wanted to make an old world wine. So what is that for maybe the folks at home who might not know what that means? Can you kind of break that down and how you do that as a winemaker?
Wow. So old world and new world. Old world is like the traditional winemaking region. So think like Europe is where we go. So France, Italy, Spain, Georgia, Slovenia, right? And then you have new world, which is the discovered world, is how I like to think about it. So anything post 1492, where people are starting, like the spice trades start going around, and we have this movement of vine material. We have this movement of knowledge. And so New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, America. But like, man, my brain's going now. You think about Mexico. There were so many vines before the Spaniards conquered it, and they burned all of the vineyards because they were like, you're making better wine than us, so we're going to burn it all down. So there are some overlaps too, but that's a base definition. And I hate making comparisons, making Michigan wine, because we are a singular place. But in full transparency, like, yeah, I look to France, I look to Alsace, I look to Burgundy, I look to Jura, Savoie, like those kinds of places that are making marginal climate exceptional wines, because Michigan is a marginal climate. It's a cool climate, but we have harsh winters. And so like I'm looking to different regions where they're using different techniques and maybe colder fermentations, whole cluster and whole bunches in the fermentations to bring more tannin and to bring more life. But yeah, I look to the old world because I think is a good place to emulate, right? Like you miss 100% of the shots you never take, so might as well try and make an old world wine using Michigan as that backbone.
Well, and this is distinctly different than how the rest of Michigan mostly makes wine.
Yeah,
correct?
I'd say most. Yeah. There's a small group of people in Michigan right now that are making wines with that look towards tradition and like traditional wines, but having that Michigan kind of turn to it.
Right.
Because like we're very proud of Michigan wine. I'm very proud of Michigan grapes, but it's important to use. We have a blank canvas, but like what store did you buy the canvas from? And like the store I'm buying the canvas from is probably in France somewhere.
It's really funny.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Like,
yes.
my Michael's is in France. Because like you need to look for something. If you have something special, which we do in Michigan, so special, then you need to be able to be like, okay, where else do they have something special, and can we do it that way? But we take our own spin on it, I guess.
What makes Michigan so special? Like, what about it?
The soils, we'll go back to the soils, right? Like old glacial soils that have a lot of, they're young, they're like 12 to 16,000 years old, like very young, where France is million-year-old soils. But what we have is super special. And it's just the vines love to grow there. Yeah, you can have non-irrigated vines from the beginning, and that kind of, to me, putting my wine brain on, like all the sales reps are like, these are dry farmed, right? These are farmed sustainably. We can do all of those things. And I think that's really cool. So we focus on it and we try and exploit it, the grapes, to make something that can be this. Yeah. It's dope.
It's delicious.
It's super fun. I love Pinot.
Well, I don't know. I have a preference for wines like this too, and you obviously do too. And you said you have to start somewhere.
Have to start somewhere.
But this seems like a path you're going to continue down is more of this like old world style.
Yeah, I'd say like pushing the boundaries on old world style in Michigan. Like,
yeah, when it's unique for Michigan too, which I appreciate. I mean, I grew up in Wisconsin, and the joke is always like, yeah, the wine is horrible.
Yeah.
It's like, I like sweet wines, I like ice wines.
Same.
There's nuance to those. There's like winemaking involved and like farming with those.
Yeah.
Like, I think the wine in Michigan and Wisconsin in general is like wine I would make, where it's like, I like wine, I'm going to try to make it. And then me as a not farmer, me as a not winemaker, I mean, like, I understand some of these things, but like, if I really smooshed grapes and put them in a bucket and tried to ferment it and buy a home fermentation kit, it's probably going to taste a lot like these, like Michigan. And it's like, am I being too mean to Michigan and Wisconsin winemakers by saying that? It's like, I don't know, but there's obviously something that you're doing that is different than what winemakers generally do in the Midwest. That kind of gives the Midwest a bad rap for wine. Yeah. So, I mean, what makes it bad? I don't know. It's always feels like it's too sweet. It feels like I describe it as a plastic credit card taste. And I have been told that is usually like the things that you can buy from Scott Laboratories. You can just Google like fining agents, which is like something you would use in winemaking, and then you just order it, and then it arrives to your house, and you follow the instructions, and you put it in.
Yep.
And to me, I can taste that.
Yeah, same. Like home winemaker stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe even like you can buy oak chips from the same website. And
you can taste it.
And you can taste it. And it tastes like oak chips, but it also tastes like vanilla extract.
Exactly.
And like not in a great way.
No.
And then so for you, like you achieve some of these same tasting notes, but you do it perhaps in a more, dare I say, natural way where you don't buy it off this website, right?
Sure. We do use some products because on bad years you need to, right? But you're never using a recipe, and I think that's what we're kind of doing a little differently.
Okay.
Like, I think there are some like great wines, world-class wines being made in Michigan, but as a whole, right, 30,000 foot view, it's a recipe. It's like, oh, we got Pinot Gris, let's XYZ, 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll make it because it's safe. And I find that quality wine isn't made from safe winemaking.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
I think the best people in the world take a lot of risks or do riskier things like hyperoxidation, right? When hyperoxidation is when you brown the juice of a white wine and like get it ready to age. Or like using minimal sulfur or using something else other than sulfur to protect the wine. And I don't know, I think that risky winemaking can turn out really, really, really good if you have good grapes.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's also the core. I don't want to get too much into natural wine, but I do think that's the
cool
core argument for natural wine too. It's like you say a recipe. So yes, people receive grapes. They go, well, this is how my dad did it. This is how we're just going to do it like that. Or I just Googled this.
Yeah.
If I was a contemporary winemaker, I'd ask ChatGPT, honestly, just be like, please help me.
It would probably work out fine.
It might work out fine. But you take riskier winemaking, which does that mean, when you say riskier, like, does that mean I'm going to try something and it might ruin half the crop or it might ruin the barrel type thing?
It might ruin the wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like all of it.
Yeah.
Like, what's the riskiest thing that you do that would potentially ruin all of the wine?
I don't like topping too much. Like filling the barrels back up when evaporation happens. I love a little bit of oxidation on my wines. And so like this wine, for instance, I didn't top for probably 16 weeks at a time, which is crazy. Most people do like 5 weeks, if not less.
Okay.
And I think it adds a savory element, but like it could have gone nail polish like that.
Okay.
Because really low sulfurs, if not none in some of the barrels. And it allows like oxygen as a breeding ground for bacteria. So it could get bad real fast. So I try and like tiptoe on these lines because I find that once they resolve in the bottle, you're rewarded for that risk.
Cool.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of. I mean, and these are the intricacies I think are interesting about talking with winemakers, especially winemakers like you. I understand a lot of these concepts, and like I know that there's a fine line for oxygen. Like you want some, but not a ton. That's why wines are closed with cork, because you want some, but not a ton.
Yes.
For the most part.
For the most part. Sorry, screw caps.
Sorry, screw caps. It's not about you today.
Yeah. Get out of here, Barossa.
But that is not something I would have considered, that people want this natural product. They want maybe a more conscious wine, whether that is farming or winemaking.
Conscious wine. I like that.
Yeah. And you're going to pay the price in some, so you're going to pay the price, and in some years it's going to taste different. So what if you had done this where you're tiptoeing on the topping and it didn't work out, and you had this sort of VA faulted wine because of it? Would you sell it?
I'd see what some sulfur does to it first.
So you just like add some sulfur and being like, let's hope this kind of like evens it out a bit?
I'd have to trial it, you know? Like there have been some barrels where I'm like, oh crap, uh-oh, like something's going on. And then you just take 500 mils of it and play with it and see what happens. Like put a little bit of sulfur, a little salt-based sulfur in the vial. And if that fixes it, it's like, okay, let's start there. And hopefully we don't have to intervene anymore. But yeah, I'd probably sell it and kind of flip it and make it like a natty product. Yeah. And just lean into that and be honest about what happened. You know, like if I was pouring that for you at Easy Does It, I'd be like, this is kind of effed up. But like, if you can get past the effed upness, there's some really cool stuff going on.
Sure. And sometimes it blows off, and sometimes it does kind of end up being okay when you pour it out of the bottle. But I appreciate that honest answer.
Yeah.
And I think people want to kind of poo-poo these faulted products, and I have before in the past. I'm going to be honest about that.
Same.
Certainly. But I have more forgiveness for people like you and smaller winemakers, whether like you are taking a risk or you're a newer winemaker, and being like, this is my way of supporting young agriculture, young farmers. I think farmers get so fucked in so many capacities of this, like...
Oh, we can curse?
Yeah.
Sick.
This is kind of like I semi wine podcast, so I figure you have
it.
to be 21-ish. I don't know. If kids are watching this, we'll bleep it out. I think we can curse. Yeah. We'll do it in post. My post guy's on
Your
it.
bleep should be a cork popping.
You're hired.
TM.
Yeah. Nope. You're not getting 1 cent for every. Damn it. But
sorry, I totally.
No, it's okay. Farmers get totally screwed on all these situations, and if you have the means and the money to support those people, like I spend most of my money going out to restaurants. That's kind of the same thing. Like sometimes you go out to a restaurant and you're a little disappointed, and you go, well, it's a new restaurant. Well, it could be an off day. Well, blah, blah, blah. I want to support these guys, and that's okay. Yeah. I think a bottle of wine should be kind of viewed in the same way. Whether, if you can afford it, buy it, and then have that be the risk, and that's okay.
Yes.
But people don't want to do that. I want to do that. I think I'm an anomaly.
Definitely. Yeah, most people are going to be really disappointed if they get home and they're like, oh, that doesn't smell right. Or what I've experienced is like, maybe 75% of the people that are taking that risk won't even know what a flaw is. So they're like, it tastes a little weird. Yeah. But they still drink it.
It's a little funky.
It's a little funky.
And I think consumers are smart enough to know that by this point, you know, being like, this wine tastes like kombucha or whatever. And it's like, that could be a charming aspect to a wine, and people sell it that way. But I think that's okay.
Totally.
I think that's good. Especially if we have the mindset of like, it's someone like Maxx being like, most of the wine, I haven't had a wine that ever has like tasted super fucked up from you.
Even those Petit Clos,
I think you talk about Jura, I would just like kind of just say it's got this Jura kind of vibe. Like it's got this French thing.
It's got this French thing.
It's got this French thing going on. Yeah. Like a little oxidized, maybe like a little Brett, a little VA type thing.
Definitely. Definitely. Those wines are hard for me.
Why?
I think I've destroyed my ability to appreciate natural wine, because I went so hard down the hardcore natty route. Like I got to sell Zev Rovines wines. Yeah. And like there's so many incredible wines in that book, but then I'd be encountered with one that made me flippin' question my life, where it's like, this is so popular, but it's so bad. Like, make it make sense, right? But I've kind of learned to accept that side of the wine world. It's very important, and it allows a lot of people to be introduced to wine that would never be introduced to wine. Like, so many cultures surround themselves with natural wine because it's an ability to get into a very gatekeepy world. And I find that's like a beautiful part about natural wine. But like, we're not honest enough about the natural wine. And that's okay, but it's a thing and it's annoying.
I agree. What should people do then?
Not be scared of traditional wines. I think once people get into the natty foot, they're like, this is me. And they make it their personality. And it's like, Bordeaux's are gorgeous. And like, yes, they're natural Bordeaux's, but there are also like, a little new oak can be nice sometimes. And just to, maybe you don't drink it, but appreciate it. Because like, that's the other road. That's the other side of the fork. It's like, natural's always been there. That's traditional. That's what, maybe not traditional, but that's like old school. And then you have the let's make it better way. Yep. Right? And I think that's really important to understand both sides because they do like come together in beautiful ways. Yeah.
I agree with that. Like, I've always been a big proponent of like, learn the rules before you break them, or you got to learn your scales before you play jazz. And like, natural wine is very jazzy.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
It would be very helpful for most people who want to get into wine to learn these kind of classic regions and how they taste and why type things. And new oak is interesting because like, I don't like new oak on a lot of things, but like Grand Cru Chablis has new oak on it. And it's delightful. It's flipping awesome. And it's delicious. And this is a region that like you wouldn't maybe always associate it with, but it's like, I think something like oak, some of these like techniques, old school techniques, old school, new oak, LOL, I guess, but.
Old and new.
Oh my God, you're so funny. It can be done in a really, I think, tasteful, great way, and not just as a thing of being like, this is something we do for the region, so we're just going to do it, or this is something that sells, so we're just going to do it like this.
Sure.
I like more of that nuanced, artistic expression of it. For lack of, I'm going to sound corny saying it. So like the
Sape, right? We're doing Sape twice now. Sponsor.
Yeah,
we need golden steak.
Yeah, that's true. I got to get out my 24-carat gold leaf.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What were you going to eat while you're in Chicago?
Are
you leaving like tomorrow? Are you leaving today?
So like every time we get here, I do have to get the winery prepared for harvest still. But like I just love being here, and it's normally Thai food when we come into town.
Ooh, nice.
Because like there is not a lot of Thai food. You have to go to South Bend, and it's not that great.
Yeah.
I love getting like my Michoacan style Mexican flair.
For sure.
So we stay with Sydney's parents that live in Uptown, and so that's like just a hub for really good taquerias. Zaragoza is now
up there, which is amazing.
Oh my gosh. I used to take my, what's it called? Ride-alongs when I was with Cream down to the Midway one.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I was like, do you like consomme? Do you like goat?
Do you like incredible tacos?
Can we have like a 2-hour lunch? Yeah. That or I'd take them on the riverboat, the architecture
that's a good
tours.
One. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'd be like, I probably should, sorry, Cream, but I should bring you to an account, but like, you want to go see the city in the coolest way, and this will be our lunch, right? And it was just so much fun. But what am I eating? Yeah, that's what I'm eating. And chicken wings at the family pub. Best chicken wings in Chicago.
Parents own a pub.
Yeah.
What's the pub?
O'Shaughnessy's Public House. Shout out. Stranger Wine Company Rosé on tap.
Really?
Really? Yeah. We kegged 2 kegs for him. And because it's like, yeah.
Dude, that's cool.
It's awesome. It's like super fun. And like, I think it's like $8 a glass.
I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going there tomorrow.
That and the chicken wings. I think I'm going to go there after this. Seriously. Because I didn't get my fill yesterday. I wanted to save my tummy for Bar Parasite. And I got to town. I was like, I want wings. The whole drive in. I was like, Sydney, I want wings. Then I get there. She's like, you're going to have wings? I was like, no. I was like, oh, come on. So I need it today. But yeah, Thai food, Mexican, and the pub.
Yeah. All right.
Underrated brunch.
I will absolutely have to go there.
Yeah.
That's really funny. Well, and Zaragoza, yeah, I mean,
out
I've always kind of
Zaragoza.
lived in this neighborhood, so it's quite far from the Archer Heights Zaragoza. So I needed like a good reason to go there.
Yeah.
But my tax lady lives in Plainview, so
Okay.
like it's very inconvenient, but she's great, so it's like worth driving there.
When you find a good one.
Crystal Chavez, God bless you.
Heck yeah.
We love her. We love being tax compliant IRS. But I would drive out there, and then as my treat on the way back, I would go to Zaragoza.
Heck yeah.
And it was so good. The food there is incredible.
It's outstanding.
And the dad who works there is really nice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Never met the family.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan is like a pretty integral part. Like he does a lot of like pop-up chefs dinners and
cool.
things like that. If you work restaurants in Chicago, you probably have like met him at
Okay.
some point. And his dad knows this too. So when you go to that restaurant in Archer Heights, like he'll be like, "Oh, like do you work in Chicago industry?" Like he'll probably like be able to like, you know, spot you out and being like, "Hey, you're not a regular around here. Like, are you new? Do you know Jonathan?"
Cool.
Yeah, super nice guy.
That's awesome.
He'll give recommendations too. He's really sweet.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh
it's
my
nice.
gosh.
But I love the Uptown location because I'm just up there a little more than I am near Midway.
Yeah, that for good reason.
Yeah, I mean it's a
hike.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Again, just because I've always lived off like the Blue Line and stuff.
Okay.
You know. But
Okay.
Uptown, it's like I usually will go on Argyle Street. I love all the Vietnamese restaurants. I kind of have like my favorites along there.
yeah.
So I'm over there a little more. I'll be by the lake and I'll grab a banh mi at Ballet. I don't know
Oh
if you've
yeah,
been there.
of course.
Yeah, and I'll bring it to the lake.
Heck yeah.
That's my little secret. But then now, yeah, that's over there. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, Sun Hoa, classic.
Yes, that's a classic. That's a classic. Also, like I want to do like a little series on like BYOs in Chicago, and that's
Chosun Oak.
Chosun Oak.
That like to me is right behind 90 Miles. I was like one of the best BYOs. Like,
Yeah, I always forget 90 Miles is a BYO. Mm-hmm. What other BYOs do you like?
Oh my gosh, now I'm on the spot, but it's the Tango Sur. Is it Tango Sur?
Yeah, Tango Store right next to Music Box Theater.
Yep, killer. I think that the Bristol when it was open used to be
RIP.
BYO.
Yeah.
RIP. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think those are three big boys too.
But Chosun is like the one.
You think that's the one?
Oh, because you go in and you're in somebody's kitchen.
Yeah.
Like, don't look at the fans. Don't look at the recirculation machine. Like, but eat and enjoy.
Yeah.
And, you know, you'll get kicked out in 2 hours probably, but
It's fine. Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's so good.
I like that.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know. What are your plans for Stranger Wines? Like, are you going to grow anything new? Are you just going to get a little bit better each time? Where's your head at with it?
Hoping to get better each time.
That's everyone's hope. Yes.
That's everybody's hope. But planting more grapes is kind of the focus point. We own an additional 57 acres that's like above our estate right now on like the hill above us. So looking for grants for funding, that kind of stuff. Because like, again, it's very capital intensive. And we were able to secure this piece of land, but you're like, okay, it's like $20,000 to plant an acre. So where's that coming from? So the goal is to like really focus, buckle down, and figure out how we can use the system around us to plant that land. And then expansion, slow expansion. We're at like 1,200 cases now. I want to get to 5,000 in like 10 years maybe.
5,000 cases a year. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's so hard. People are like, is that a small winery?
Wicked small.
Wicked small.
Yeah, wicked small. Like Bainbridge Island small. That's in Washington, but like micro. Like the IRS still would only they would be okay with us filling out our annual report once a year still at 5,000 cases, where it completely changes at 10,000 cases. It's like
Interesting.
Everything changes because then you're not a micro or whatever they call it.
So they put you in like a micro category or like a small.
We're in a box.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I love my box. It's cozy.
Yes, it's a nice box. I mean, would you ever want to make more than that?
Nope. You lose quality. You lose soul. You lose intensity. For me, I find that if you don't have the capital to expand properly, and you just shoot up, my wines would not have the intensity behind them. Because like I get to treat each barrel individually still, and I get to treat each fermentation individually still. I don't want anybody else making the wines, right? So having that ability to have QC and quality control, and like being able to really focus on that is important. And I have seen so many wineries like expand too fast, and then all of a sudden they just have a product. Do you know what I mean? Like they just have a label, and the wine, you're like, I miss the old vintages. And there's so many that like have just fallen off, and it's honestly kind of sad, because I feel like they're forced to do that due to pressures of region, due to pressures of capitalistic interest or investors. And it's like, man, you see great companies go down the wayside, unfortunately. Yeah, like big time.
I mean, I do agree that like this is the capitalistic machine that drives America, is like, if you have something good, expand on it as quickly as possible, get it in Costco as quickly as possible. Some people want that. Has anyone done it successfully, as you know, who's like started small and really maybe...
Pax
has done well, yeah, out of California.
And I still don't think they're that big per se for a California winery.
How many cases do they make? 20,000 maybe?
I have no idea. 20 might be a good guess, because they have so many other people making wine in their space too. I think they've done a brilliant job of cornering that market. Man, it's Red Tail Ridge, New York.
That's true.
Like still small, but like focused on products to make larger, to have a better volume for domestic distribution, which is really important. Yeah, there are a lot of, oh man, now you're just making me think.
Like maybe that's the new...
Brianne Day.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That is kind of, actually now that I think about it, like what she's done is wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
So yeah, Brianne Day out of the Willamette. So
yes.
like what has she done that, in your opinion, as a winemaker, has she like done successfully to expand but kind of keep integrity, but also be in like Whole Foods and like...
Exactly.
You know? Well, how does she strike that balance?
Getting goosebumps. She's like she's such a, I got to meet her at SWAF last year, and I like almost cried. Like she's so cool. But I think what she did well was be as honest as possible. She's like one of the most honest and transparent winemakers in America. Like she puts the growers on her back and lifts them up, and is like, I am lucky to make this wine because of these people. So I think that's one part of it. And the other part of it is keeping a really good team around you. And like it seems, I don't know her team, but like it seems every person there is there for a reason, and they are on board with the vision, because like her wines are just getting better, and she keeps increasing quantity. And it's passion driven. And keep freaking killing it, Miss Day, because like what you do is, and she's a badass mother, like the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's she's the winemaker, but she's now more of a CEO type position, right?
That's a good way to think about it.
I'm sure she has people underneath her who help her with the Whole Foods distribution, and because it can't obviously just be her. But like just like any company is run, the culture is defined by the CEO, right? And I see her like that as well, where it's like she's obviously expanding, she's doing well, but she's still making wines and using varietals that might not be very popular.
Yes.
Like this Vulcan blend is like, Gewürztraminer and Viognier, and like you kind of just like cram it all together. And people were to look at that, they go, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
As the grapes are like, I don't know if I like this grape. It's not Chardonnay or it's not Pinot. I don't understand it. She's done a good job of like having good branding and marketing, being like, we're just going to call it Vulcan. We're going to have a cool label, but it's going to still be under this Brianne Day umbrella.
Yes. Lemonade, like come on, what a good name for a rosé.
The Lemonade.
Or Vin de Day.
And people don't know how clever that is.
That is so when I saw that for the first time, I was like, oh, good job.
Yeah, I think general consumers don't know how clever that name is, which I also think is fun too.
I think that's why it's selling so well, because the buyers that are, these global buyers are like, that's cheeky.
Yeah, yes, totally. Yeah, the people in France are like, oh, that's clever.
That's funny.
It is funny.
Yeah.
She's got a good balance of like, she has good products. The wines are very good. Good marketing, good branding. She cares. She wants her hand in the pot still.
Yeah.
Like even if she sells this company to, Gallo or Constellation or whoever.
Sure.
It'll be like a Larry Stone type situation where it's like she'll probably care still. She'll probably get a payout. She'll probably work for this company for 3 to 5 years as a CEO until they, weed her out. Like, I'm imagining if she ever
If
gets
that
bought.
happens,
I don't
yeah,
even know
yeah,
if she
yeah.
wants to get bought out, but like, this is what I think of, like, this is why people start businesses in this country, is to make money. But how do you make money with integrity? And that's always what I think about with Slik. And it's like, sometimes those things don't align. Sometimes you are just going to make 5,000 cases and you're going to keep that integrity and do exactly what you want to do. But it's not, you're not going to sell your wines in Whole Foods. You're not going to sell your wines in Costco. And that's okay for you.
It's fine.
Some people want more of a balance. Some people say, I've been making wine for 35 years and I'm tired. And if I can get a payout from someone cool,
might as well.
Might as well. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't think
either.
there's. Look at Bonnie Doon.
Bonnie Doon.
Like,
Yeah.
Who thought Randall Graham was going to sell? And then he did, because he was tired and he wanted a passion project.
Yeah.
And now he's doing some crazy shit, so.
Totally.
Yeah.
It can be, people want to make a ton of money because they think it is the thing that makes them free and gives them that freedom. They'll go, once I get the payout, I can do whatever I want. But I need to work my ass off up until that point and work late nights and things like that.
Totally.
I'm a business owner too, in my own right.
Doing very well.
Well, thank you. But I also have to ask myself these things too. Do I make myself happy in the moment by doing exactly what I want to do? Or should I put more on my plate and like maybe make more money on this thing, or collaborate with this person and that person, maybe sell high ticket things, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of ways it could go.
Sure.
I choose to be happier on the day to day because my past healthcare background was like, literally anything could happen. You have no control. Like, yes, you could live a very long, happy, healthy life, and that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I also have no fucking idea. So
anything can happen.
I'm more in the camp of like, I would rather just do the thing that makes me the happiest, and if it doesn't make me the most money, that's okay.
Amen. That's what Stranger is trying to be.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. I don't want to.
What do you want to do? What's going to happen?
I think we'll always have Stranger, but like I don't think I'm going to want to be making wine for 35 years.
Sure.
I've always been a person that like jumps passions, but like goes really hard into them and then still keeps the passions on the back end.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to do it for a while, but I'd love to hire, like Brian, I'd love to hire somebody that I trust to like make the wine so I can spend time with my family and like I can hire a vineyard manager so I don't have to spend 80 hours a week in a flipping tractor.
I thought you loved your tractor.
I love my tractor, but once you feel like kidney pain coming out of a tractor and you're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
It's like, I want my discs to be in my back to be healthy when I'm 70.
Yes.
Yes.
And some people will go, well, maybe I'll just do the uncomfortable thing and just expand so I can sell. So I can just be like, okay, well, if I'm going to work hard, I might as well make a ton of money off of it. But it sounds like you like working.
I like working.
And it sounds like I like working.
Yeah.
So do you achieve balance, or do you just go hard and?
I need to be better at balance, for sure.
I mean, it's got to be hard with your job, especially during like harvest.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how hard harvest is too.
They don't.
Like-
Harvest is easier than the farming season, for sure.
Harvest is easier than the farming season.
Oh, without a doubt.
I feel like it'd be harder because like it all happens at the same time and it doesn't stop until it's over.
Yeah, but farming doesn't stop for 7 months. Do you know what I mean? Like the thing with farming is you're like, okay, a rain came. What does that mean? Oh, we got a weird hailstorm. What does that mean? And you're consistently faced with anxiety and pressures and very important decisions where it's like harvest comes. You're like, all right, I know the fruit quality. I kind of know what I'm going to do. It's going to be a hard month, but like every day is hard. And like you don't get a break from the heat. Harvest always happens in the best time of year. It's fall. Everybody's sweater weather, drinking beer, hanging out. Like I find it to be a lot more, it's just easier. It is easier to me physically. It's easier. Like,
is it because it's a smaller operation too, perhaps? Like, do you work 24 hours a day when the harvest starts?
No, I think the longest day we've had at Stranger was like 18 hours.
That's a long day.
It's a long day, and then you're back in at 8 a.m. to do camp management, right?
Yeah.
No, last 24-hour shift I ran was in Washington in my first internship, and that was like because I partied after I got off work. So, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, harvest is a lot of fun. It's a celebration. And I think that's why I also love the old world, harkening back to that. But like, it's a party. Like, you should be so proud to be making wine. And again, privileged to be making wine. So I find it to be easier because you're not like, oh, I hate this. It's 95 degrees and like I need to be outside for 10 hours.
That's funny.
You know, like you don't have an option for the farming season, but winemaking, you have an option.
Right.
I could be super lazy if I wanted to and like put them in a tank and like touch them a little bit and like make a super natural wine, right? Or you can be super hardcore. Like when you did harvest out in California, like that's some of the most commercial processes you could see. And it's hard work. Like digging out big tanks is hard work, but like it's quick in the grand scale of things. But when you get done on like the estate, right, where pulling leaves, you get done with the day and you're like, oh, I still got 5 acres to go. It's like, no. But once a wine is pressed, it's pressed.
Right.
Like I rambled a bit, but that's kind of where I'm at.
I think that's interesting. Yeah, because all I can, the only harvest I've done is at Schramsberg in Calistoga, California, Napa. And I picked them because I think they're interesting because they do a lot of production, but I still think it's really high quality stuff.
Very much so.
So I thought that was an interesting dynamic, and they're so historic, and they're an anomaly for the region. There's a lot of reasons why I picked them, and I love sparkling wine, so I was like, that's just easy. But they have a 24-hour operation, but they're also trying to sell 1 million bottles that year. Math, how many cases is that? Divide that by 12. I don't know.
So I was a math major, but I'm horrible at like basic arithmetic.
Yeah, well, it's obviously more than 100,000 cases, so compare that to yours. So it's like it's about 100,000 cases. So it's like you have to be 24 hours because that's a lot of grapes to process.
Yeah. How many tons did y'all do?
I don't know.
You don't know? That many?
I blacked out. I don't know. But it's, so as the harvest intern, I'm a cog in the machine. Like, I would like to see the bigger picture, but they're like, there's no time for the bigger picture because you have to do this one job over and over and over. Like, I am a machine in the process.
Correct.
I did the yeasting. That's all I did.
Wait, really? That was your job?
That was my one job.
Oh, you must be good at rehydrating then.
I did some arithmetic, some basic math.
Yep.
I took yeast out of a bag and I measured it and I activated it. And I did that for, about 3.5 weeks. And I was like, okay. I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
I got the tour of the place. It was overall a good experience.
Good.
But I saw wine. I was like, okay, like that's interesting. Like wine is very much a commodity for this group of people.
Sure.
There's a lot of history and culture behind this place, but like the job needs to get done.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes. It's like just a lot of repetition. So I didn't feel the party. I didn't feel the old world culture.
Yeah, sure.
It was really, it was more of like when I asked about questions and things, sometimes people were responsive to it, but other times people were like, I'll tell you 1 or 2 things, but we got to go after that. Wow. And I was like, whoa, okay, like this is serious.
Yeah.
This is pretty serious. And then like I saw other people doing harvest and I was like, oh, yeah.
It looks like fun.
It looks like fun.
Were you able to did you have like a shift beer at Schramsberg? Like, was it?
We couldn't really drink.
Oh.
Yeah.
The joy. You have to come up for harvest this year and have some harvest beers.
And it was a 12-hour day for even me. I was the day shift, so I got there at 6 and left at 6.
Wait, you did 12-hour swing shifts?
Yeah.
That's why. Yeah, you were just in a machine.
And I think that's how, so I went there being like, this is probably what I think it's going to be like. And then I got there and then I worked it and I was like, this is probably what industrial winemaking is like, actually. Like, I can't imagine it's too different.
It's not.
Yeah.
Like tank farms.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I did the first internship, Custom Crush. It was like, let's go as commercial as you can go.
Yeah.
But even there, like we had a little bit of a culture for sure.
There wasn't, yeah. I really had to seek it out to get it, which was fine. I understand that.
Do you think that's a Napa thing?
What do I think? I don't know enough is really the answer because I know winemakers, but I haven't done harvests with them.
Sure, okay.
I have to imagine it's a bit of a Napa thing. I think this is the pressure that happens with someone like, okay, they are in Costco. They are in all these big accounts. They probably make a lot of money and it allows them to do other things. Yeah. But if I imagine, so, I was an intern. I was kind of just like one of the laborers, one of the workers. If I was owning Schramsberg and I saw that happening and I employed people, I'm trying to like imagine it from their perspective. Like if I was the CEO, like I'm Hugh, what's his name? Davies in this situation. Is that something I would want in winemaking? It's still a delicious product. The wine is so fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I really like it.
Same.
Despite it being like industrial.
Sure.
I would never like say that they're not natural either. Like they do hand picking.
They do which is crazy.
They do use commercial yeasts. They use champagne yeasts. But I'm still not gonna, I still think like there's a lot of things about it. Like you're still making champagne, and I think champagne is also kind of inherently more labor intensive and more on the natural wine side of things.
Sure.
In my opinion.
I could see where you're going with that.
So it's just not a winery I would ever like want to run or be a part of after seeing that. I'm glad I saw it, but I'd rather hang out with Pax, or I'd rather hang out with you.
Totally.
I think that'd be way more fun.
It is more fun. Yeah, because it is a celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think that's what people see when they see these harvest things. It's
like people are in bins stomping, and it's so much fun.
That's cute.
And it is hard work. Like again, I'm not going to discredit the amount of hard work it takes, but like, it's cool. It's fun to do. Baking bread's really hard, but it's rewarding.
Yeah. All jobs are hard, right? I was like, we picked hard jobs, but all jobs are hard. Just it kind of depends on what kind of hard you want to do.
Yeah, totally. I'm trying to think if there's a job that isn't hard. Like it's actually, everything has its own kind of ebbs and flows.
Yeah, its own flavor, its own bullshit, Like I worked as a nurse, and it's 12-hour shifts, and it's 3 of them. So comparatively, as opposed to like working 6 shifts a week at 12 hours, you're like, well, it's less than that.
It is less.
And people go, you only work 3 days a week. That seems pretty cool. And it's like, the job is just so different. The job is actual life-saving sometimes.
Yeah.
And managing emotions, communicating with people in incredibly hard times in their life. It's a lot of emotional labor, which does totally burn you out.
Big time.
Yeah, and it's a lot of knowledge. It's a lot of interdisciplinary communication. It's just like a very different job than like yeasting all day. Yeasting all day is, I get into Zen mode and I do the same thing over and over again. And that's hard in a different way.
It's draining.
Yeah. And they're both draining. So yeah, I don't know which one's harder. They both are hard, but which one do I like doing more? Out of those situations, probably neither. That's why I picked door number 3, which is Slik, which is like all of this random shit I try to do. That's and being awesome. Like, let's try to figure it out.
Figure it out. Yeah. Entrepreneur life.
I guess.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I get it. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
Good thing you have a good tax lady.
Yeah. Yes. She's a lifesaver. I love her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's killer.
I have a game for you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I am. Can I have a little bit more wine then?
No, don't pour any more.
Oh no, you're gonna blind me. Oh crap. All right, here we go. I gotta put on my...
I am gonna blind taste you.
Okay.
I know what the wine is, unfortunately.
Okay. Oh my God, it's in real life?
Yes.
I'm seeing it in real life.
It's real.
Okay.
Do you want 60 seconds? Or do you want to do...
What do you do, 60 seconds?
I do 60-second blind taste.
Let's do it.
Because I think it's funnier that way, too.
Okay.
Do you want a hint, or do you want to just go for it?
Let's do it.
Okay, I love it. I'm going to taste it with you. So
cool.
I'll start the timer when it happens, and we won't do it. So it's been open for a little bit. It's probably cold enough now.
It's a white wine.
Very good.
No signs of sediment.
You must be a master of wine. There's a nice red tint to it now, too, because we're using the same glassware. That's so fine. You're technically smelling it, so it's technically started. But
okay,
I'll give that to you, though. It's going to start. You're going to get 60 seconds.
Okay.
And you're going to guess the... let's just do region and varietal.
Region and varietal.
Yeah. Let's just start there. Ready, set, go.
Cool. So white flowers get like peaches. I get some like creaminess, some what I'd call lactic-iness, which is really nice. Mm-hmm. But it's not like butter, right? Kind of like brioche, but nice.
I'll show you how much time too. You have 44 seconds.
Sweet. So it's thick, glycerol heavy. Medium minus acid, like not a lot of acidity, which leads you to specific grapes. Some oxidation on the back end. 25 seconds, okay. Okay, I'm in like a school of a couple grapes, like Grenache Blanc-y, Viognier, Albarino-y. I'm gonna say white Côte d'Aron or like Grenache Blanc heavy white blend.
Okay, you're going Old World?
Old World.
Okay, Grenache Blanc blend, Côte d'Aron.
Côte d'Aron.
All right, I love it. So
Boozy.
that was your 60 seconds.
Oh, jeez, what is it?
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
This is a Viognier.
Viognier, okay.
From Texas.
Okay, you know what? I'll take it.
I honestly would absolutely take that too. I think
take
that's
it.
great. It's a 12.7% alcohol, which I think is interesting.
I do not believe that.
We think that's a lie.
I think that's a lie. You get 1.5% in America, so.
Well, we get 1.5% leeway on that.
TTP, yeah, you can put what you want within a.
1.5
think
seems
it's
like a
1.5.
lot. Because that means this could be 14%.
I mean, it tastes boozy. It tastes boozy.
Is it the varietal that makes it taste like that? Or is it the alcohol that makes it taste like that? Would be my question.
I think maybe some oak aging, too, can like lead to higher glycerol. Yeah, you know what? For like quality wise, white Côte d'Aron, it was Vio. I'll take it.
No, honestly, and 60 seconds is hard. You
Yeah, that
know?
was really hard.
I've done it with other wine. I've done it kind of enough, so I feel like I have a vibe of like how these things go.
Texas Hill Country.
But like, yeah.
Good job, Yates family.
Good job, you. I think that's great that you
Super cool.
that you got that much, and because I agree with the texture was the biggest thing for me that pops out.
Oily and
Oily.
Yeah, I had a Californian Grenache Blanc a couple weeks ago that Sydney blinded me on, and it has that same inviting nose and then just complete letdown on the palate. And to me, it's like Grenache Blanc, Viognier, or Albarino.
So unfortunately true, and I also think that's like why these grapes are so challenging to sell.
But weird, Viognier is like one of our best-selling wines at Stranger. I do not get it.
How is that?
I do not get it.
Why?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. And it's like, as soon as I made it, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be good, because who the heck drinks Viognier? But now it's selling like wildfire, so whatever.
I'm shocked by that. I feel
Same.
like that's one of the like worst selling wines
Ever.
like that in Gewürztraminer, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't like Viognier, but I do like Gewürztraminer, so I'm always like, I'm not going to push it too hard.
I
but
hate
like,
Gewürztraminer and
Really?
I like Viognier.
Oh, wow.
I can't stand Gewürztraminer. I just don't know. I do not know why. Maybe it's like grandma trauma that I don't remember, where it's just like walking into her bedroom and it smells like potpourri or something like that.
Grandma trauma.
Grandma trauma. I love you, grandma. But like,
Of course, but
man.
yeah,
Gewürz for me is so difficult.
that's funny.
Yeah, I haven't had one that I really like, and I've had a lot.
Actually, like a lot of the ones that happen on like in Oregon right now, kind of like from these like wacky Maloufs or Brandy types. I think
Okay.
she does a Gewürz actually.
I haven't had hers.
Yeah.
I've had who's Gewürz? Someone's out there. Only one though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway.
I like kind of like a not classic expression of Gewürz.
Okay.
I think it's like a fun thing for winemakers to play with.
Yeah. Skin contact stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
Yeah, I think that stuff is cool. But yeah,
Good blind. That's sick.
you did good.
That's super fun.
Stainless steel, aged in stainless steel for 5 months.
How is it so oxidized? Oh, it's probably a VC. Sorry, now I'm thinking wine stuff, but
What's a VC?
VC is a variable capacity tank.
Okay, lay it on me.
Lay it on you.
Give me the explain it like I'm 5.
Okay. You have two different types of tanks. You have open top tanks where there's no lid, but you could put a lid on. And you have closed tanks, like Schramsberg, a lot of closed tanks, where no oxygen ingress can happen. So VCs are open tanks that have a lid with this very flimsy, and you're trusting your life on this 2.5 whatever millimeter plastic thing that you pump up with air and hope there's no leak somewhere. And so but there is always going to be a leak in a VC tank. And so that's probably why.
Got it. So it allows more oxygenation and therefore
Possible it shouldn't.
I see.
The lid should stop it.
Okay.
But it doesn't.
Well, what's the point then? Like, what
They're
should?
cheap.
Okay. Okay. I was like, can't we just all agree then that like that's just the kind of style of wine that you're gonna get with this, as opposed to being like, we sell this product and it sort of works, but like everyone sort of expects that same sort of flaw with it.
Yeah, a bit, and you have to go in and pump the lid back up every single day to like ensure that it's.
How much cheaper is it? Like, is it worth the labor of going in there and the stress of like?
For a new winery, it is.
Yeah, that's
right.
Fair.
But like, they're still not cheap. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So like 100 liter, like that big. It's like $899. 100 liter VC tank.
That's crazy.
Right, and so you go to 1,000 liter.
Yeah.
It's like $5,900.
Good God.
And a closed tank would be $8.
Okay.
For the same size.
So it's significant enough to go, fuck it. We're just going to go with the cheaper one. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. But that's the problem with East of the Rocky stuff. Everybody has VCs.
Well, so maybe people should be doing cooperatives types.
It has to be the future. But like, who's going to invest in that, right? That's the big thing that we're all, because like Sydney and I talk about it all the time. It's like, we'd love to build a bigger facility and have multiple brands become the next Michigan wine thing, or allow people to try their hand at it. But like, who has $5 million to go around? Because it's probably going to cost that much.
It's going to have to be like a non-profit that like operates on this European mindset of like, someone just really gives a shit about agricultural product and like integrity within that and the continuation of it. Can we get some billionaire philanthropist who has some interest in agriculture to do something like that?
That would be cool.
That would be cool. I don't know. Do you know anyone?
No. I would have already planted my land if that was the case. But yeah, no, it's going to take that. It's going to take an angel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in whatever financial way you want to think about it. But like, it's going to take that big push to like really make it work.
For sure.
Yeah.
That would be the argument, to try to work your ass off and get into Costco. Just be like, maybe we should just do the $1 million sell, and then that could be my future. Whether you want to see it like a legacy or just something that actually is like a very practical way of like creating biodiversity, creating effects on climate change.
Sure.
I could see power within that. That would be an intention for me to make $100 million. It's like, well, if I can do something good with all that money, that would feel good.
Yeah.
But the journey I would have to be and the kind of person I'd have to be to do that, maybe my mindset would change by the end of it and it wouldn't even matter.
Totally. 100%.
Do you think about things like that?
Yeah, a little bit, but also it's hard for me to have that perspective all the time because it's such a far away idea. You know, I think you have the potential to do something like that with the platform you're building. I think like you do. You have a cool. I can see an out for you in some time, or at least get enough sponsorship where you're like
yeah,
living
like a media out type thing.
Like this independent lifestyle where you still have a brand, right? And you're the CEO, right? But for me, I think that's such a far. No one's going to do that in Michigan yet. Maybe in 40 years if we do the right thing, but Bronco's not going to come knocking at the door and be like, Stranger Wine Company, you're 1,000 cases. Here's $1 million. It's like, no way.
I would love for you to eat your words in like 15 or 20 years. How fucking cool would that be, though? Hey, if New York Times is going to do like a 48 hours in Door County, Wisconsin, like I think as climate change, there's a lot of scary things with it. But like Michigan, like in a perfectly beautiful place where it gets a little too hot in California. It gets a little too inclement, and the weather is there's too many frosts. There's too many weird hails in all these other regions. I mean, you guys have that too, but
not as much as like the Finger Lakes, unfortunately.
Or even like, Mosel in Germany. Like it's all not looking good for a lot of these like classic wine regions, right?
Yeah.
So.
But diversity will be their marketing campaign. I call the French plight every April.
What do you mean?
Every April, and you're not going to be able to not recognize it every year. The frost articles come out, and it is bad. Like farmers are losing their crops. What's happening in Italy with mildew is horrible.
It's really bad. Yeah.
But like, man, for the last 15 years in the wine world, it's like clockwork, like spectator, advocate, enthusiast. It's all like the French, hail again. We're burning buckets. They do it every year.
So it's true. Like the picture of the vineyard sites where there's like they're burning fires and everything.
Picture every year.
That's where they get you. It's a conspiracy.
Where they get you. But like, oh man, it is sad, but it's you can't make your entire region based off of a plight.
It's not a good look.
It's not a good look, and it's like, but that's why some of my favorite farmers from that region are the most honest. It's like we've had a really hard year, but like, look how beautiful our land is. Look at our children. Look at our piggies, right? Like all that, and it's that to me. to me, that's what we have to avoid.
Yeah.
You know, like we lost an entire crop this year in Michigan. So our vineyards in Berrien County, we haven't posted once about it. Because like, boo-hoo us. Yes, it's sad, but like that's farming. It's gonna happen. And it sucks, but like pull yourself up by the bootstraps and like get to it because there's still farming to do, right? And I just wish the international wine scene and one country in particular would really just be like, we have thousands of years of history here. Let's be proud of that. The vines are still growing. Yes, we lost a crop, but the vines are still growing, right? Again, I have said this I think 4 times, but we're privileged to do it. So like have that perspective.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's, every job is hard.
Again, like, right?
Every job is hard.
Same thing.
Yeah. You know, nurses, doctors have a lot to be sad and complain about, but they go and do it anyway. You know, farmers have a very hard job. A lot can go wrong, but you do it anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to let yourself be sad about things that happen that you can't control. That's, of course, part of the process for anyone, for any sort of business or job.
Yeah, totally.
But I'm with you. It's like, how much do you want to play into that? And how much does it help you, really, too? I don't know.
How much does it help you? It doesn't really help. It might help you sleep a little bit better some of those nights, right?
Yeah. I'll throw a pity party for myself sometimes.
Hell
But then and then you got to wake up tomorrow and go, are you still going to throw the pity party? Is that going to help you? Is that going to be the thing that makes you feel better? Or do you just move on and
or
say,
do you
fine?
just move on? Yeah. My mentor always calls me and he's like, how you doing today? I'm like, I'm having a really hard day. He's like, well, sorry for your bad luck. And he is, it's a saying in southwestern Michigan, when farmers, something happens, it's sorry for your bad luck. Mm-hmm. Get to it.
Mm-hmm. You know, the Susucaru did so well because Action Bronson was all over that. And that really propelled it. And I also think that's like the power of marketing, brand, and media too. It's like it can be used for good or evil. It could be the poor France, there's another frost, here we go, the French plague type thing. You know, and media perpetuates that. And then Action Bronson, he is media, whether he wants to be or not. He's a personal brand, just like Joe Rogan, or people who are people and also just like things.
Yes, like Anthony Bourdain did.
Like Anthony Bourdain did. It's more authentic, but it has the same outcome. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, like what side do you want to kind of be on with that? And like for Action to do Susu, he did a lot of natural wines, but I feel like
Susu was the one.
Well, that was the one he was the most excited about at the time, and that's the one that sells. And has he changed winemaking at all? Frank Cornelissen?
Oh, he's adding sulfur now.
Now that's fun.
Whoa.
And so why? Too inclement? Too hard in?
Because he wants his wines to survive a travel. Like you can't ship 0-0 wines without them being wild at arrival. And mouse can resolve. That's something that also isn't talked about. Like if you have mouse in a wine, let it sit for a year. And there have been studies that say after a year, mouse resolves. And I think that's the biggest thing with Frank's wines, where they were getting really, really, really flawed. And he is a good winemaker, and he's an incredible steward of the land. So I think he knew that his product needed just one extra little bit. It's like 10 ppm of sulfur.
Which is, even for the natural wine world, that is a very small amount.
That's milligrams per liter. You're talking about a dust, again, salt bay, but a dusting of sulfur.
It's one salt bay of sulfur in a giant tank.
And like, that's the big thing about this whole flippin' SO2 conversation is oh man, these people are walking around natural wine festivals drinking Acqua di Piedra, a very popular sparkling drink.
Wait, hold on, shut the fuck. I talk about this all the time. I want you to finish your thought, but I already know what you're going to say.
I have a meme like ready to go that I've been waiting to put out, and maybe I will after this, but
you should.
On the back of the label, it says it's like 220 ppm or 320 ppm of naturally occurring sulfur, and they're just like walking around at Raw Wine Festival like chugging Acqua di Piedra, and it's make it make sense. There's a point where dogma breaks down and pretentiousness takes over. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, going back to Suzucara, I don't think Frank has been like one of the most honest and genuine people in the wine world. But he was very, very, very strong-willed about what he wanted to produce. Mm-hmm. And he's like, my wines are great probably in Sicily, right? Mm-hmm. They're drinking beautiful at the winery.
Totally.
They're good in Europe. But like a whole trip across America, he probably wasn't, maybe not, I can't speak for him. I do not know him, but like as a winemaker, if you go to America and go to California and you're drinking your gorgeous Etna wines and some of them are fully flawed, you'd probably be really disappointed, because there are a few, very, very small amount of people in the wine world that enjoy those flaws and are proud of them. Yeah, because like I had about half of our Syrah that we bottled went mousy. Full existential crisis.
Totally.
Full existential crisis.
Yeah, mouse is like a pretty hard one to recover from, I think. Like VA people, you're like, it'll blow off. It's okay.
Mouse is integral.
Mouse is pretty brutal.
Yeah, but it's resolved now. Literally, every bottle's fine.
I mean, but how? Just time?
Time. Yeah, it
But also
reabsorbs.
luck? Because like...
Time.
Okay.
I promise you, if you have a like Partita Cruz, those wines are flippin' mousy because they're consumed quickly after import. If you let those things sit, it will resolve.
Interesting.
There could be some, right?
Yeah. How long does it need to sit for?
The studies say a year. The Syrah resolved in about 5-6 months. So I think it depends on what's happening and like the amount of movement.
That is so interesting. I remember like, you know, being a wine buyer in a restaurant, people would sell me on mousy wines and being like, this is just the style. I never knew it could resolve itself just by sitting there.
It can, and I think there might be some benchmarks where like maybe it can't resolve, right?
Sure.
If it's truly, truly flawed.
Yeah.
But most of the time I've seen mouse resolve quite well.
Got it.
And like I'm a guy that if I taste mouse, I gag like almost immediately.
Yeah.
And I have a very visceral reaction to it. But yeah, it can resolve. And I find it can be nice in wines.
I love that I know that now, so thanks.
Yeah. Just let it chill for a while. Like just.
But about a year is to
about
keep
a
it
year.
safe. Okay.
That's what the studies say.
Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to Tori at Cream, because we had a discussion at Daisy's last year, and she was like, it resolves. And I was like, it does it? And then I did all this research, and I was like, it literally does.
Okay.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, they know because they import so much natural wine.
That's true. That's true.
Some of it's 0.0, and I'd be freaked out.
Yeah.
I'm scared when the Petit Clos come to Chicago. I'm like, don't open those for a couple months. They got shook around.
Yeah.
A lot.
What's the stat? It's like, 80 people drink a bottle of wine 8 hours after purchase or something like that.
Whoa.
In America, like most people who buy a wine buy it the day they're going to drink it.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, well, it's like going to the grocery store. It's like buying a loaf of bread. You're probably going to eat that loaf of bread that day or the next day.
I might fall into that category most of the time, now that I'm thinking about it.
Most people do, because it's like no one has a place to put it unless if you have a house or a wine fridge or something like that. Most people just like have a refrigerator or a counter that they put things on. So that sounds about right.
Yeah. No, that does make sense. Like that new stat, 2.2 gallons per average American of wine drank per year seems super low, right?
2.2 gallons per person.
Per person on average per year.
Right, because like a bottle of wine is a quarter of a gallon. Yeah, all the metrics are messed up, but yeah, about a quarter. So imagine drinking 8 to 10 bottles of wine a year. That sounds right.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure it out, to be honest, because like I live in such an insular bubble. We all drink a lot of wine, right? Yeah. And it's great.
Yes.
But you have to think about, like, I was just not thinking about the sober community, the religious communities,
the people who drink 0 to make that the average. Yes. But I just don't think people drink that much wine in general. They drink it at dinner. They drink it maybe, after a long day at work or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're not like us.
I know. They're not like us.
Well, I honestly don't drink that much. I mean, I taste a lot, but I don't I certainly don't drink wine. Well, now it's 11:30 or whatever.
We're fine now. We're fine
It's 5 o'clock in Portugal.
Yeah, probably. Actually, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're fine. Salud.
Yeah, salud. Salud, my dudes.
Salud, my dudes. Heck yeah.
Salud, my dudes.
Salud, my dudes. Yeah, I definitely drink more than the average human probably, but,
Well, I've kind of been ending these as the movie ends. So Beetlejuice is over.
All right,
that was a great choice, so thank you for picking that.
You're welcome.
I really respect what you do.
Thanks.
Not just because I'm from the Midwest and I have a lot of Midwest love, but I think you and I see business on a very similar level and how wine should be consumed and created on a level. And it's this big macro scale, yet we still focus on a lot of micro things. And I think that's a really cool balance that we both try to focus on with what we do. Amen. So I appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
The sum of the parts is greater than the whole.
I agree.
That's it.
You're cool as hell. So yeah, Stranger
dope
Wine
too.
Company, Michigan. If you see them,
Join the wine club.
join the wine club. You ship wines too, yeah?
Ship wines,
Which
46 states.
Which is abnormal. I think it's very hard to ship wine in this country. It's like trying to ship wine to 50 separate
It's impossible.
countries.
Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to bring stuff to London, hopefully, and it's like...
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's crazy. But
it's crazy.
support where you can. But
Yes.
yeah, did you want to bump anything before we bounce out?
No, just join the wine club.
Perfect.
And thank a farmer.
Yeah, good God.
Thank a farmer.
They deserve it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Max. I
Hey,
appreciate
cheers.
it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Cheers.